I'm so excited because my package has come, and it even came earlier than I expected it would come. Have you ever ordered something in the mail? It's fun getting it and seeing if it's just what you wanted, isn't it? Oh, I think I made a good choice. It's just the color I expected it would be. Sometimes it's hard to tell from the picture, you know, in the magazine, but this looks like it's just what I wanted it to be. Oh, this is wonderful. Oh, it's so furry and warm, and it was on sale and everything. What do you think? Do you like it? It's kind of big on me, isn't it? I didn't want the sleeves to be this long. I don't think my choice was so good after all.
It's so good to see you again. Come up for a visit, my friend. There's so much to do. I have so many things planned for you. We'll laugh and we'll play. We'll sing and we'll pray. I'll tell you a story or two. And we'll be friends, you and I. Yes, you and I and Jesus. I'm happy you're here once again. It's so nice to have you as my friend.
What's going to come up on this side of the screen when I'm talking? You're right, the keyword. And the important letter in the keyword comes over to the right spot in the mystery word. Do you have your pencil and paper? Are you ready? Looks like today's word has 8 spaces. Now, I wanted to just look and see if what went wrong, because I know I ordered the right size and it looks like they sent me the right size. Oh, I see. Says here in small print, it says that these sizes are in the metric system, so it's centimeters, not inches. And so to make sure I convert it, and I didn't do that. Oh, there's my bell basket. Hi, Dr. Neblett. Sure, we'll meet you over there right away. Let's go meet him in the Wonder Room. Hi, Dr. Neblett.
Hi, Janice.
I have a question for you. Do you think this fits me? Do you think it's too big or the right size?
Well, if you like the big and baggy look, it's fine.
Well, I didn't really want the baggy look. That's the problem. And you've confirmed it. I thought it was too big, and I think you're right. See, what happened was I ordered it by mail, and when I looked on the order form, I thought the measurements were in inches, but it was centimeters, and so I calculated
so you made
it
an
out wrong.
uninformed decision.
You're right.
Well, I brought someone here to talk about some of the decisions and choices that we make. This is Sally.
Okay. Well, hi, Sally.
Sally, I use Sally to help teach my patients how to make informed decisions. Because one of the saddest and worst informed decisions that a person could make is to make the decision to smoke cigarettes.
Ooh, poor decision.
Let me show you what happens with Sally's help when you make the decision to smoke cigarettes, and why I think it's a poor choice to make.
Okay,
All
I'd
right?
like to see that.
All right, here's what we're going to do.
Okay.
Now, we're going to put in a tube into Sally right here, just like our trachea, our breathing tube that goes into our lungs.
Down like this way?
That's right.
Okay.
And I'm going to use this tube, which is going to collect the cigarette smoke. I want our friends at home to see how clean that is.
It's very shiny.
That's correct.
Can you see that?
Okay, now I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to move quickly now. And we're going to put Sally right here on my stand.
She's kind of cute.
Certainly is. I'm sorry to do this to her, but take a cigarette and put it in her mouth.
That's a real cigarette.
That's a real cigarette. And these are real matches.
And so she's going to smoke it just like as if a person was smoking
That's right.
it.
And the smoke will go in through the cigarette and down into the tube. Okay? And I'm going to help her breathe by squeezing that blue bulb right there.
That'll be like her puffing.
That's right.
Okay. Well, it lit just like a real cigarette does. Oh, it looks just like how when people smoke, puffs in and out.
That's right. And the smoke you can see is coming right down into the tube. Now, Sally's just finished smoking some cigarettes here.
If I was Sally, I'd feel sick right now, I think.
Well, I'm kind of feeling kind of sick, but let me show you what we got out of Sally in 3 cigarettes. Now, that is the tube.
That used to be clean like that. Can you see that?
Now, if a person were smoking cigarettes for years and years, as many people do, you can imagine that that tar, which is what that black stuff is, builds up in their lungs, and it gets to even beginning to look like this stuff.
Ooh, yuck.
That tar in their lungs irritates it and even leads to cancer, which can kill them. That's why we don't want anyone to start smoking cigarettes, and if you have started, we want you to quit.
Let's make a choice. Let's make a choice. Let's make a good decision about how we think and eat and sleep. Let's make a good choice today. What you eat, how much you eat, it all adds up to something. Exercise and happy thoughts, your choice means everything. Let's make a choice. Let's make a choice. Let's make a good decision about how we think and eat and sleep. Let's make a good choice today. Let's make a good choice today. Let's make a good choice today.
I'll get this all folded up nicely, just the way they sent it to me. And I'll fill in my order form properly this time. And then they'll exchange it and send me back a different one. Get this form out here, let's see. Okay, my name and everything is right. Okay, this is the square I should have checked right there. Yeah, I'll send it back. And they'll exchange it, which will be really nice. And then, when my new sweater comes, I'll be happy with the choice that I made this time. There. But don't go away, because when we come back, we're going for a plane ride.
Hey kids, if you love all the fun things you get to do with Janice and her friends, you'll flip over this. It's Janice's activity book. Loaded with fun, this book teaches scripture through mazes, puzzles, dot-to-dot games, coloring, and more. And the best part is, it's free! Let's take a look inside. The scripture on this page says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Now, let's circle the pictures that are the same. That's right, you've got the idea. There are many more fun-filled activities in this book just waiting for you. By the way, did I mention it's free? To get your very own copy, have your mom or dad write to Janice's Attic Activity Book, care of 3ABN, P.O. Box 220, West Frankfort, Illinois 62896, or call 1-800-752-3226. Don't wait, order yours today.
Hi, Doug. Thanks for meeting us here.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
I'd like you to meet my friends.
Hello.
And can you tell them who you have with you?
This is my daughter, Megan.
Hi, Megan. I'm glad you came with your dad. Tell me something. What made you decide to become a pilot?
I decided to become a pilot because I like learning new things and new challenges. So I'm always learning new things, and this is something that I've always wanted to do. And so I went out and learned to fly.
Now, what kind of choices do you have to make each time you decide to fly?
Of course, the most important choice is where do we want to go?
Oh, that's a fun
With a plane, you can go to a lot of different places. And so we choose how far we want to go, who we want to visit, and what interesting things we want to see. That's the first thing you got to decide.
What kind of safety choices do you have to make?
We have to check the weather to make sure that their clouds aren't too thick or that there's no thunderstorms and lightning or something like that. We like nice sunny days. And I even got a weather report today.
Wow, so you have to read that and
Right, actually
figure
this
it
was
out?
off the computer.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great. Now, what advice can you give kids? Because I'm sure that lots of kids want to be pilots when they grow up. What can they do right now? What choices can they make?
Well, all the things that they're learning even in grade school are real important, because mathematics, to add up the weight that you're going to be carrying in the airplane and how much gas you're going to need to get there and how long it's going to take. And reading, because I read all kinds of checklists and reading the charts and the maps, all that's real important. So basic learning things are real important. I would also suggest that they go out to the airport and look at planes and talk to pilots, and most pilots are anxious to give kids rides in airplanes.
Ooh, now that wouldn't be a hard decision to make.
That's right.
And would you take us for a ride?
We'd love to. Let's go. But first, I've got to check a few things on the airplane. One of the first things we need to check is we've got plenty of fuel. So we look in the gas tank. We've got lots of fuel. The other thing we need to check is that there's no water in the gas. I take a little sample, and if there were water in here, it would show up like little BBs. We can also check the tire, make sure there's plenty of tread and good air in the tire, and make sure no birds have built a nest up in here. These are the movable parts of the airplane that I control from inside. They change the way the plane goes through the air. It's important that they move correctly and that all the little cables and nuts and bolts are attached properly. Everything looks good. Let's go fly.
Megan, before I get in, I'm wondering if you'd tell the kids what you like about flying.
Well, I like it because it doesn't take you as long to get places.
Ooh, that's a good reason. Well, shall we get in and put our seatbelts on? Okay. Well, we're up off the ground.
We're putting some flaps down, which is a little control on the wing. Now we're going to come around and slow down and land.
So you got permission from the tower before you landed?
Yes.
Well, thank you for taking us
Zero,
on this
Echo, continue
ride.
westbound point to 45 midfield. 0, Echo.
I had fun. Did you? You know, I've been thinking about it on my way back, and I'm not a pilot, and I'm sure you're not either. But in spite of that, we both have a lot of important decisions to make, don't we? For example, it's important to decide whether to drink good, clean, pure water or whether to drink soda pop. Soda pop's not as good for you, is it? Much better to drink water, right? Let's see. Oh, here's an important decision, and this happens for everybody lots of times each day. The decision of whether or not to share. It sure looks like the people who decided to share are happier, doesn't it? I think sharing is a better choice than not sharing. Let's see. Ooh, this is an important decision too. Boy, oh boy, I like this guy's car, don't you? He looks pretty proud of it. But look what happened to the guy who drank alcohol. Boy, oh boy. Better to stay away from those things like drugs and alcohol, isn't it?
Let's make a choice. Let's make a choice. Let's make a good decision about how we think and eat and sleep. Let's make a good choice today. You can read a book, you can read the signs, you can follow a map and study its lines. Listen to your parents and the Bible too. There are lots of things to help you choose. Let's make a choice. Let's make a choice. Let's make a good decision about how we think and eat and sleep. Let's make a good choice today. Let's make a good choice today. Let's make a good choice today.
Have you ever had to help your parents or the adults that you live with choose a place to live? There are a lot of things to think about, aren't there? For instance, it might need to be close to your school, or maybe it needs to be close to your dad's work, or maybe you want an apartment and you want to make sure that you have a nice big balcony. Or maybe you're buying an older house and you need to ask the realtor to come in and check the house over to make sure that it has really a strong support and a strong frame even though it's old. Lots of choices have to be made. But do you know, people are not the only creatures that have to make choices. Animals and birds do too, because they need to have safety in where they live. Let me show you a little tiny nest that's a bird's nest. Now, I don't know if you can see real carefully, but I sure can, and I'm going to tell you that this nest is made of skinny, skinny little tiny twigs that are all woven together like a basket. And there are even hairs woven in there. It's just such a tiny, delicate little nest. I don't think a big crow would live in a little nest like that, would he? Wouldn't be a strong enough support. Well, here's a bigger nest. This is for a little bit bigger bird, and so it's a stronger nest. It's even got little bits of moss and a bit of mud and stuff woven into it. But the largest of all birds' nests has got to be the eagle's nest. An eagle's nest is a beautiful sight, and not only is it a beautiful sight, the bird who lives in it is very beautiful too. Do you know when eagles choose to build their nests, they have to think about some important things. They often choose to live near water because they like to go fishing. They put their nests way up high because they're high-flying birds, 60 to 80 feet in the air. They use very, very large branches to start with, probably 3 or 4 feet long and a good 2 inches in diameter around. And that's what they make their main frame with. And then they go to smaller twigs and smaller branches. And year after year, the same pair of eagles continues building on their same house. Now let me tell you something. Scientists once found an eagle's nest that was 10 feet wide, that's taller than a man, 10 feet wide, 20 feet deep, and it weighed almost 6,000 pounds. Now what do you think would have happened if those eagles who built that nest, if they would have chosen a spindly old tree to build that in, just a skinny spindly tree? It wouldn't have held, would it? Aren't you glad God gave eagles the instinct to make wise choices? Since we've been talking about choices, Charles and I have decided to do an experiment. It's making a little steamboat, and it's something you can do at home if you have the right ingredients and if you have the permission of the parent or the adult that you live with. Now for this experiment, it says to use baking soda in a little piece of toilet paper, take a straw, cut it in half, put it into a jar, not a jar, like a plastic pop bottle or juice bottle, cut a hole, slip it up inside, and then use like clay to put around the straw to seal it so it won't be all loose and the liquid can't get out. And then you pour vinegar into the top of your bottle. Now, would you like to pour that in very slowly, Charles? Okay. Okay, that's enough. We don't want to go higher than the straw. If you go higher than the straw, then it will leak out, won't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the experiment says to take a little bit of baking powder and put it in 1 square of toilet paper. Let's try it and see if it works with flour too, okay?
Okay.
And so we'll get the flour. We have it on 1 square of toilet paper.
Yeah.
Your toilet paper is like your thing that holds it to get it in. And then you have to put it in your hand like this. And we'll just put it, and you don't want to get it down into the vinegar yet. And so we'll just put it right up here at the top. And Charles, if you could hold on to this just like that. Just hold it right at that level, okay? And now I'll do the one with this. Now this is the baking soda, and it's in 1 square of toilet paper, just like the experiment says. And you fold it up, and then twist the little ends. That keeps it together. And then you slide it in like this. It's kind of tricky getting it in. You might want an adult to help you. I even have a bit of trouble. Then you slide it in, and then you put the lid on. And you can do it with yours too, Charles. Then you shake it like this, and let's both put them in. Oh, look at that, Charles. Which one is doing the going? Let's get him. He's nudged up against the edge. We'll get him away from the edge. The one with the right ingredients worked a lot better, didn't it?
Yeah.
Did you know that one of the best ways to become a good friend of Jesus is by spending personal time with Him every day? Well, adults do that by praying and by reading their Bibles. But if you can't read, it's kind of hard, isn't it? Or maybe you just like listening to tapes. Well, here's a fun way to have your very own devotions every morning when you get up. Janice has made these morning time devotions for her kids and for you, complete with songs, prayers, and stories. For more information, have your parents write to Morning Time Ministries, Box 208A, Kitwanga, that's Kitwanga, British Columbia, V0J2A0, or call 1-800-263-7671. Here's the number again, 1-800-263-7671.
The more you choose to love someone, the more your love will grow. By choosing Jesus every day, more of His love you'll know. You can love Him with your actions, your decisions. Let Him know that you want to love Him more each day, and you need His help to grow. The more you choose to love someone, the more your love will grow. By choosing Jesus every day, more of His love, more of His love you'll know.
Oops. That's better.
Are you ready for another story?
Yes.
Me too. Now remember, all these good, mysterious things have been happening in Longview Village, and somehow Roy thinks they're connected with the cave, and that's where he is right now, in the cave. And he's come upon a smooth part of the wall that has a string hanging down. And with his heart just thumping, he reaches forward and pulls on the string. Nothing happened. Pulls again. Nothing happened. And so then he yanked it with both hands. And the wall just came open like a door. And he flipped on his flashlight, and it was another passage. It was a secret passage. And so he starts to go through the passage. And he walked, and he walked. Do you know he walked for at least a quarter of a mile down this winding secret passage? And then it started to get narrower and narrower, and he was having to kind of hunch over. But he kept going because he was so curious. And he went for at least another quarter of a mile. And all of a sudden, as he came closer and more farther down that passage, he started hearing kind of muffled sounds, and he didn't know what those sounds could be. And his heart was kind of thumping a little bit harder, and he was just about to give up and return because those sounds were kind of scary, you know. Just about to give up when he saw a light. And as he came closer, it turned out it was an old wooden door with kind of a crack in the door, and through that crack, he saw a bright, shining light. His heart was just pumping, beating like anything, and he went up to the light just as close as anything, and he peered inside. And inside, it was a room. And in that room, he could see a table, and he could see benches, and he could see a stack of rugs, and a lamp on the table, and he could see food on the table, and sitting on the benches at the table were Oscar and Bruce. And he said, "Hello, Oscar, hello, Bruce." And do you know his voice? Because it was in the cave like that, it just literally petrified those boys. And they just flew off their benches, And in a flash, they were gone. And in the meantime, Roy is trying to open this wooden door, and he's trying to pull it open, and he bursts into the room, and he's going, Oscar, Bruce, come back here. It's only me. It's only Roy. And then from around a corner, they came back. And they were just shaking like leaves in the wind. And even Roy was quite frightened because, I mean, everybody was just kind of, and they could hardly even talk. And it was quite a while before they could talk sensibly to each other because they were just so overtaken by it all. But finally they settled down and they sat down. And Oscar and Bruce, right away, they said, how did you find us? And so then Roy told his story. And then Roy said, but what are you doing here? And Oscar and Bruce told their story. And what it was remember their mom was in hospital? And this was long before their mom had ended up going to hospital. They had been out playing on the hillside one day. And when they were out playing, they had tripped over some kind of an old rusty piece of iron. Now, do you remember the time that Roy tripped over a rusty piece of iron? Well, they had tripped over this rusty piece of iron. And so they thought that was kind of weird, and so they pulled on it. And would you know it, it lifted up, a part of the ground lifted up, and it was a secret door. So they got candles and stuff, and they went down, and this was a secret passageway into that part of the cave. And they found out that it was this room, and there was the doorway and all this stuff. And so then they had gotten hammers and nails and boards and kind of fixed things up. And that was when old Peter MacDonald had heard the noises, remember? And so they were telling Roy the story, and Roy was so interested in it. And then they said, but you know, Roy, it's a good thing you found us tonight, because we just got news from our mom and dad that they're coming back, and we won't be able to come to the cave anymore once mom and dad come home, because mom and dad will want us to stay home. They won't want us spending so much time at the cave. And so they talked long into the night, but then Roy had a question for them. He looked at them and he said, Oscar, Bruce, are you two the ones who are behind all these good things that have been happening in the village? And I'm not going to tell you what their answer was till next time. How about you? Have you got our mystery word yet? Airplane. That's a fun word, isn't it? You know, pilots do have to make a lot of choices, but you and I have to make a lot of choices too. And I hope that we'll both try and make good choices this week. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.